Miles for Meso is important to me because it keeps awareness out there about asbestos and the fact that it is not banned in the USA and that it's still being used to this day, and just the importance of raising funds and finding a cure for this awful disease. My name is Joyce Larson Francis, and my connection to mesothelioma is I lost my first husband, John, to mesothelioma in November of 2010. So, attending the race every year helps me remember my husband, John, who's been gone 13 years. Life has changed a lot in 13 years. There's not a day that I don't think about him, but it's just nice to this is my day to honor him and honor how hard he fought to stay here with us and everything he did to make sure that we would be taken care of when he was gone. I mean, it's very nice to be here around other people who know and understand what our family went through. There's so many different families that are impacted by it when it's caused by something and you know that it could have been prevented. And that's the worst part of all of it is none of these people have to be battling this or dying from this because it could have been avoided. I think the manufacturers who use and continue to use asbestos in their materials, I don't know how they sleep with themselves at night. It's greed. It all boils down to money. They want to make money, so manufacture their products as cheapest as they can, regardless of any health consequences to the public. It's just unexcusable at this point. My late husband, John, was exposed to asbestos in several different ways. The first situation was when he was a child. His dad worked for National Lead, so his dad would come home with it on his clothes. It would go into the washing machine, which was in the general area where my husband and his sister would play and hang out with friends, so that was his initial exposure. Later in life, he was exposed because he had a love for working on old cars and restoring them, so obviously the brakes and all of that kind of thing. He loved home remodeling, so we had a very old house in St. Louis City, and we, tore out the bathroom. At the time, we didn't know, but that again was more exposure to asbestos. And then he also worked for a company where they designed high-rise buildings, so they were always going to old buildings and doing inspections and that type of thing. So he was exposed to ceiling tiles and other various building materials that had asbestos in them. We weren't aware that his cancer was related to asbestos until about 6 months after he was initially diagnosed. I first became aware of Simmons and what they do from a friend of mine because she said, you have to talk to Simmons, that this is a big deal. You shouldn't just live with this without taking any further action. Simmons was amazing through the whole process. My daughter was very young then. She was 12 when her dad died. It was a very emotional and stressful time, but they were always very supportive. Allie at the firm was always, and till this day, is amazing. Everybody was above and beyond, went out of their way to help us make sure that we were doing okay, asked if we needed anything. I have been attending Miles for Meso since the first year in 2009. Miles for Meso is important because it raises awareness that asbestos is still being used to this day and that there are numerous people out there that are fighting this illness caused by asbestos exposure.